Well, it looks like yesterday's news, in fact, blew up in the best possible way. Tons of people are online trying to figure out what PlayStation is doing with their all-new DRM that they've implemented into their digital downloaded games. And the thing is, people are actually defending it. No, I'm not kidding. We're literally watching in real time as PlayStation fanboys are going around and trying to defend PlayStation in some weird, inconceivable way because they want to make sure that their favorite brand and company is the one that succeeds, even though they're putting them over a barrel every single time. And the real crazy part is, it looks like other companies in the gaming industry are also taking pages out of PlayStation's book and saying, you know what? We can make things even worse. But DRM isn't the only problem that we're facing right now. That's just one of the major aspects happening in the race of you owning nothing, like I said before, and pretending to be happy, having to be always online, having to now join a sub-service, and soon to be only having actual physical hardware, whether it's GPUs, actual consoles, or anything else in your living room, unless you're one of the few wealthy people to even afford it. That's right, the RAM crisis is still heading back in the way, and it looks like it's not only going to be impacting every other major manufacturer on the PC side, it looks like it's also impacting Xbox and even the Steam machine, because apparently the price for that system is going to be skyrocketing. But even with all of that happening right now, like I said before, there are still going to be people trying to defend these companies and corporations and make everything be as stupid as they possibly can make it, simply because they like the logo on the plastic box. Destin Legary on Twitter said this: if you're out there defending this DRM thing as, quote, good actually, I'm just going to mute you. Even MBG is rightfully calling it out. What are we doing here? With Steve Tanner replying and saying, I mean, I hate it, but there's an easy fix. If you're ever in a situation where you don't have internet, just tether your phone to it for 3 minutes and let it check in. Again, it's lame, but an overwhelming majority of people shouldn't be impacted by this. And Gene Park replying, it's wild how you guys completely miss the point. That's right, we are literally in real time watching people make every single excuse about digital rights management in video games, trying to go ahead and run actual defense for a company like PlayStation. Oh, just tether your phone for 3 minutes, bros. It'll be perfectly fine. Let the company know, the same company you already bought the video game from, that you already downloaded the game from, which you can't refund if you already downloaded, by the way. That's a good fun one for you, just to give you a quick heads up on that. Let them know that you tethered your actual cell phone plan to make sure that they know that you're a good boy, and you made sure to let them know that, hey, you can play that video game. Like I said before, even though you've already bought it, you've already downloaded it, and your PlayStation is already registered as part of your account. Like Gene Park said, completely missing the point. It's not about how easy it is to tether a phone to a PS5. No, it's about the principle of the matter. And the crazier part is, I want to know how many times this dude is going to go ahead and tether his phone to his PlayStation after what we hear about 2K doing next. Because according to Tom's Hardware, Denuvo has been cracked in all single-player games it previously protected. 2K Games and Denuvo reportedly retaliate with mandatory 14-day online checks. Oh, yes! Yes, we are seeing it happen live in real time right now. Not only was PlayStation's idea bad enough about having a 30-day check-in because they want to stop people either family sharing their games or at the same time are trying to curb piracy in some weird way, even though we know exactly how that always pans out. Guess what? Surprise! The pirates always tend to win, not the corporations. But even with what's happening right now, with PlayStation adding that DRM, we have also witnessed as well that Denuvo has been cracked for every single player game, which is actually kind of wild because Denuvo has been priding itself about how great it is, even though there is empirical evidence dictating and showing that Denuvo impacts performance negatively, that it doesn't do anything to curb piracy, and at the same time, it charges companies and corporations an exorbitant amount of money to implement that that code into their game, which makes games runs worse and also makes games more expensive because companies don't want to waste any money on you now, do they? But I think it's even funnier that 2K and Denuvo have also agreed to now mandate a 14-day check-in policy. Don't sign in for 14 days? Guess what? Your shit's not gonna work. Pay up, clown. But there's more to the article, so let's go from there. With the article from Tom's Hardware saying this: we've reported previously on the feats of the Skull and Bones community against Denuvo's DRM. The cat and mouse game has essentially come to a head for now, as the pirate crew has officially reported that as of yesterday, there were 0 games with Denuvo that haven't been cracked or bypassed. As a somewhat predictable response, Denuvo and 2K Games reportedly just added a 14-day mandatory online check to several titles, including NBA 2K25, NBA 2K26, and Marvel's Midnight Suns. This is impossible for the HVB to emulate, as it's a request-response call to Denuvo's servers, and thus in practice can't be replicated. At some point, the code that executes this check could be removed, but that requires a full game crack rather than the HBP. Just so you're aware, the HBP is what's called a hypervisor-based bypass, or HVB. There's other ways that programmers and coders have been able to get around Denuvo, but this is on an entirely new, different level. What Denuvo is doing right now, with 2K Games especially, is now that they are requiring those mandatory online checks, which cannot be done on a manual server. They have to go through and connect to Denuvo's own server, let you verify that you are in fact owning that piece of property, and then letting you play the game afterwards. Don't check in those 14 days. Guess what? You can't play jack shit, even though you already bought the game, even though you've already given 2K Games your money, and even though you've proven that it's part of your account and you actually own the product. Imagine being a good customer and consumer, buying the game like you're supposed to and supporting the devs, yet the developers and even the company that's part of it treat you like an actual criminal. And that's really the more disturbing thing about all of this. Watching as not only companies like PlayStation adding this as a way to circumvent other ways of trying to get a license for a video game or to stop the piracy, even though you and I know that any pirate was never going to be a customer in the first place. So for a company trying to count it as a lost sale is actually incredibly moronic. The only people that are being impacted by these sales are the actual true customers and consumers that went out and bought the fucking game. And it's also why I get so incredibly upset every single time there are massive amounts of DRM inside of any video game. Steam is a perfectly fine use case for DRM. It has my account, it has my information, it knows I bought the game. I don't need anything else. I have been accepting of Steam being that level of DRM access because their DRM is incredibly easy to bypass, is not necessary, and is only applicable if the publisher or developer wants to be part of that game as well. There are many games on Steam already that don't require the actual app to be open or you to even be signed in or be even online to verify that you have that game as part of a DRM as well. As a perfect example, Baldur's Gate 3 is in fact one of those games. You can literally run the game without Steam even being open directly from the executable. If you didn't know that, well, now you know. And many games on Steam can also do that on top of it. And not to mention, you also have other places like GOG and Good Old Games that give you that DRM-free version, so you never even have to have any launcher whatsoever and just run the executable like you did off of your desktop back in the 90s on Windows 95. I had a folder called Games that I put all the icons in to all the EXEs. That's what I did. I don't know, but I guess I'm old like that. Who knows? But of course, these companies are going to be corpos, and they're going to do everything they can to control every aspect of what you do with that product, even though you've already paid for that product and video game. You've completed the transaction. You're already done. There's nothing else for them to do. But instead, they're going to treat you like the criminal that they think you are, even though you've already given them your money. And that is the biggest crime of all. This is just one aspect of owning nothing. It turns out that if you don't have a massive bankroll, next generation of gaming consoles are not going to be for you either. And neither Well, the Steam machine, apparently. Because according to Eurogamer, Xbox boss Asha Sharma hints that memory costs, quote, will impact pricing and availability of next-gen Project Helix console. During a recent interview with Stephen Tottilo's GameFile, hat tip to game developer, Sharma was asked if memory shortages would affect the, quote, timeline of Xbox's next-generation machine. Memory costs will impact pricing, will impact availability, she replied. As we think about being where the world plays, we will take that into consideration. So we're not ready to share a launch timeline right now. The world's pretty dynamic. Oh, it's pretty dynamic? Yeah, that's a new way of putting things, Asha. 100%. Look, the RAM crisis is also one other facet of what's happening with the gaming space right now. Things being even more incredibly difficult to find. Valve and even their own Steam Deck being completely unavailable for the past few weeks because of the RAM crisis, and the LCD Steam Deck no longer being sold basically at all. A couple of months back, a friend of mine, Delta, told me to get the Steam Deck OLED, and honestly, as much as I hate spending money, I'm glad I actually did, because if I didn't, I wouldn't have one right now, and that would put me in a situation where it'd be more difficult to make content about that device or even play games on that handheld device as well. And that's what we're seeing with all of this. The PS5 Pro hitting $900, the PS5 getting another price increase as well, and consoles and hardware increasing in prices exponentially, all because the RAM crisis is impacting basically everyone, and even Valve can't escape this problem either. Because according to WCCF Tech, the Steam machine and Steam frame price reportedly skyrocketed internally thanks to RAM shortage. Oh yeah, this is gonna be bad. And I'm not talking about like double cheeked up, damn she looking bad as hell on a Tuesday afternoon. No, I'm talking about like bad as in not good. Like that kind of thing is gonna be happening to us right now. We are literally witnessing right now as everything is getting more expensive, as every other company is now trying to exert more control into what you enjoy, into the hobby that we're actually playing. And that is the scariest thing of all. Because when you look at it, it's not just PlayStation. It's not just Denuvo DRM or 2K Games or Xbox dealing with the RAM crisis or PlayStation or Valve. It's basically everybody dealing with this. Every major company is dealing with the increased cost of everything, and instead of taking a loss on it, they're passing the buck off onto you, whether it's trying to go through and have a cheaper product or price, or at the same time just have the product available to you at all and dealing with scalpers. Then we have the actual insane amount of control that's being exerted into the software of the hardware that you just overpaid for, by the way. And watching companies like Denuvo, 2K, and PlayStation implement intrusive, owner-destroying DRM into those exact products that you work so hard for to, in fact, just play on your own. With the article by WCCF Tech saying this: yesterday we got the official confirmation from Valve that the first of the 3 new hardware products it revealed last year, the Steam controller, will launch in just a few days from the time of this writing on May 4th, 2026, and it'll retail for $99 USD. While that price isn't entirely outrageous for modern premium controllers, Valve did confirm that it is higher than initially intended. And according to a well-known insider for information on Valve, the Steam controller's $99 price tag is the least of our worries, and the biggest price hike has hit the one bit of hardware everyone is most excited about: the Steam machine. Brad Lynch, who has a reputation for being a reliable source of information related to Valve, took to Twitter to comment on how Valve confirmed that part of why the Steam controller is the first to hit the market is because, as hardware engineer Steve Cardinale told Polygon, the controller, quote, doesn't have RAM in it, and it's not as complicated to start getting out the door. With Brad's tweet saying this, Valve confirmed to Polygon that they are releasing the Steam controller earlier due to RAM sourcing issues for their other products. I've been told some Valve internal pricing targets they had before and after RAM skyrocketed. Machine is affected the most. Frame is not as bad. This is going to be an absolute nightmare. We're now witnessing in this actual space as Valve on their own is having a difficult time trying to pin down the actual price of the Steam machine, and then realizing exactly how bad the actual RAM crisis has been for every piece of hardware. Not only was it impacting Xbox for their Project Helix, the PS5 Pro, and every other major component and piece of technology that we're even witnessing, we're also seeing right now that even companies like Valve are having a tough time trying to pin down an affordable yet comparable price of what that machine can offer. And people have been saying really ridiculous things lately, like, oh, it's going to be priced like a PC. And I see people talk about like $2,000, even though PCs can range anywhere between like $500 if you're destitute and want a milk carton or a Little Caesars pizza box, to all the way to $4,000 to $5,000 if you want to go ahead and have everything water cooled and just pump everything out every time you want to turn the damn thing on. So really saying something like pricing it like a PC doesn't give us any sort of ballpark or range. However, though, I think what we're going to be seeing with the Steam machine is going to be a price range between $700 to $800. I think once it crosses that $800 threshold, that is where things are going to go south for a lot of people. I think that is the actual limit of what people are willing to pay for a Valve product that is going to do what it claims to do. And as much as I want the Steam machine to succeed, above the $800 mark is an insane thing to do. If the Steam machine costs around $900, I really don't see a point to grabbing one, honestly. Even if you can go ahead and say like, oh, it's going to have Valve stuff on it, it's got Steam OS and everything else across the board. I think above the $800 mark is way too expensive. For that price, you could either build yourself a much better PC, or at the same time, just put that money away and just get something else. You know, like a game that has 14-day online checks all the time. That'd be a good waste of money if you think about it. But the thing is, with the actual Steam controller's price, we may be getting some more information about what the Steam machine might actually cost. Check this out. When Valve confirmed that the Steam controller's price was higher than it initially intended, since the issue couldn't be RAM sourcing, it instead cited how much shipping costs have increased recently. With the Steam machine and Steam frame, we have both to worry about, and while we can still only guess at the price of the upcoming PC box and VR headset, it is increasingly looking like we should take our nightmare guesses and add a few more dollars to them. Other manufacturers like EmuDeck have made their own versions of a PC built for couch gaming, with their version of a machine built to run Steam, landing at €1,139. At this point, it seems like that kind of price point for the Steam machine is something we can only dream about. So you know what? I wanted to do some extra research about this, since WCCF Tech did talk about EmuDeck releasing the PlayNix, which is a at-home console style PC, very similar to what you'd find with the Steam machine. Here's exactly what it cost and what's in it. The PlayNix console is $1,179. It's 4K HDMI capable, power cable, 8-bit dual Ultimate 2 controller. It has a 512GB SSD, 16 gigs of RAM, Ryzen 6-core processor, and a 9060 XT 16GB. Here's where I'm going to have a bit of the concern about this, though. What we're looking at is basically a PC that, in my opinion, absolutely performs far better than what we're looking at with the PS5 Pro at around $900 before you buy the disk drive and before you pay for online. When you put all that together, they're about the same price when you think about it. And that's really what I'm talking about here. I don't think the PlayNix is going to be a good comparison to what the Steam machine is going to cost. I think the PlayNix actually outperforms the Steam machine by quite a bit. You're looking at like a 7600 XT mobile chip, basically, for the Steam machine. Not going to be that power intensive or that power hungry, and at the same time, not as performant as what we're seeing as a 9060 XT shoved into a box. That's a little bit different, if you ask me. Did I say 7600 XT? I'm sorry, I meant 7600 eGPU, the mobile version of that chip. So 8GB of VRAM, which really would sit around exactly where I think it would actually fall. So we are in for a hell of a ride in 2026 and even in the future of video games, because things are going to go to hell in a handbasket, with every major company now thinking that they need to have Denuvo do mandatory checks even for single player games every 14 days or maybe even less moving forward. At the same time, the RAM crisis impacting basically every other major piece of hardware, hurting the Project Helix for its availability and also price, and also the Steam machine and Steam frame for its availability and possibly also price as well. But I do gotta say this, don't defend corporations. They're not your friend. They're not there for you. They're there to make that money. And if they don't do right by you, take your money and go somewhere else. They don't have any loyalty to you. You shouldn't have any loyalty to them. But as always, I want to hear what you guys got to say about this in the comments section down below. Do you have a problem with DRM? Are you concerned about the Steam Machine's pricing? Or do you think this entire thing will blow over? I want to hear what you've got to say. And speaking about what you got to say, here's the comment of the day from yesterday's video. With Faith Guns 6688 saying this, Gabe Newell was right. You can't solve piracy by preventing it. You solve it by offering a better experience. He's saying something along those lines, which I think is very true. Faith, we're going to be seeing a massive pullback in the gaming industry, not from the industry itself, but from the actual customers and consumers who were saying stupid shit like support the devs. Well, it turns out when you treat your customers like criminals, nobody's going to support you then. And Gabe Newell was absolutely right about piracy. If only that message would be sent loud and clear to companies like 2K and Denuvo and even PlayStation. We'd be having a very different conversation right now. But as always, if you want to see more of this kind of content though, more PC port reviews, gaming news, Steam Deck videos, fanboy content, and even live streams, subscribe to the channel. If you want Discord access or emotes during live streams, become a YouTube member. It's as low as $1. Look, if you don't want to spend the buck, don't sweat it. Just come on down to the live streams, Saturday nights, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, live right here on the channel as I wear a banana suit and get insulted with text-to-speech. Trust me, it's a hell of a show. You don't want to miss it. Every Saturday night, live, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, right here on the channel. Think of it as a video game version of Sábado Gigante. You don't want to miss it. And if you want even more content from me, check out Oh No It's Alex Gaming. I upload there every single Monday with a brand new video that's a little bit different than what I talk about here, mostly about the culture of gaming as well, and soon to be possibly streaming there daily, hanging out with the community and just having a great time. By the way, if you're watching this, you're part of the community now. Yeah. Welcome to the cult. We meet every Saturday, 8:45 p.m. Eastern. Purple robes are to your left, and also don't forget the banana. You're gonna need it. With all that being said though, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great one, and I'll see you gooners next time. Peace!